My kids soften my heart, but I'm still enraged. 3 straps to the head, give it up, how villains made. Straight gutter. Kinda lonely, alone, never been a day. Matter of fact, my chick Nina, my closest of friends today. My buddy. Forever be engaged, be known as my friend of bae. Couldn't marry it, bust that time, gotta bury it. I've been astray, deserted, a renegade. Utensil got to rest, never know what my pen will say. Be like, if I was white, would it be easier? If I was born with wealth, would I be pleasing her? Do you see my worth as I proceed to work?
What it do, my people? It's BFA Flex with the Hurt Biz Boxing Podcast. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Yeah, so we're talking about boxing today. Yes, sir. We got a big fight coming up. One that I'm really interested in, and I want you guys to tune in too. We got Lamont, the Reaper Roach, versus Aesop Pitbull Cruz. And yes, these are a clash of two styles that should make to be a great fight. So let's talk about some things and dissect this fight. And I'm going to give my analysis and my prediction. So we have Lamont the Reaper Roach. We're going to talk about his reach. So his reach is 68 inches. And we're going to talk about that in comparison to Pitbull's reach, which is, I believe, only like 63 and a half, maybe 64 inches. So there's a major reach advantage in this fight. And I think it will play a role in the outcome if the game plan is proper, which I believe Roach's team has put together an excellent game plan. We'll get into that though. So Roach, we've already talked about him having the reach advantage. He is the typical boxer puncher. And when I say boxer puncher, his boxing skills are underrated. Definitely. He was an elite amateur, and he's shown his boxing acumen in the pros and the professionals as well. So he does not get enough credit for his boxing skills. Roach, yes, he's one of my favorite fighters right now. Even before he fought Tank Davis, I was one of the few, and I spoke to a lot of people. This is before I even aired this podcast. I spoke to a lot of people because I love to talk boxing, and they were not gung-ho and they were not patrons of Lamont Roach, especially going against, the casual fans' favorite, Gervonta Tank Davis. And he's a great fighter as well. So I didn't write Tank off at all. All I did was say he's going to be in a great fight. And do not be surprised if Tank Davis takes his first L. And then we seen the antics and the controversy that followed after that fight. So shout out to my guy Lamont Roach, who arguably won that fight, and they fought to a draw on paper. But everyone's seen that, and it still built and elevated Lamont Roach's resume and his superstardom in the boxing world. So he gained a lot of fans with that. I'm sure he knows that, and we see him a lot more. So he's a face now. So now we have this great fight, Pitbull versus the Reaper, or the Reaper versus Pitbull. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I believe Lamont Roach is going to be a force at 140. But we'll get to that. So what makes Lamont the Reaper Roach great? Let's start off with one of his superpowers, his elite precision and timing. So I already spoke about Tank fight. Let's reference Tank fight right now. So in the Tank fight, Roach used his elite counter-punching ability and his timing. So when I say precision, that correlates with, and that involves not only the ability to counter-punch, but the accuracy once you do it, and the impact it has on the fight. So once again, he's a boxer, but he's a puncher as well. Lamont Roach has literally, if you followed his career, he's he's hurt everyone he's fought. It's not about knockouts. He makes his opponents respect his power, and we've seen that in an all-time great like Tank Davis. Tank Davis respected Lamont Roach's power, and even in the build-up, he gave Lamont Roach a lot more respect than he's ever given anyone in a build-up, in press conferences, in weigh-ins, and face-offs. So he knew that Lamont Roach was going to be a difficult out, and they faced each other multiple times in the amateurs, so they knew each other very well. So just moving on, in that Tank fight, he was actively showing us his excellent mid and close range defense as well in that pocket. So when we look at that Tank fight and we see that Lamont the Reaper Roach is comfortable at mid-range and on the inside and getting dirty and swimming without getting wet sometimes, and then delivering respectful, powerful counter punches. If we see that, and we know that Pitbull Cruz is going to be trying to close that distance with pressure nonstop, we know that Lamont the Reaper Roach has the ability to counter that attack. So moving on, let's talk about Lamont Roach's second superpower, in my opinion. It doesn't have to be your opinion. This is my opinion. So he's strong, he's durable, and he's explosive. So what I mean by all this, and we're going to talk about his strength at first. So he has a great chin. Last time Roach was hurt was in 2019 when he fought Jamil Herring. And other than that, I've never seen Roach just visibly hurt in a fight. He usually recovers very fast, and that's a testament to his endurance and durability as well. Even going back to that Jamil Herring fight and that knockdown that occurred in 2019, which is, we could say, is almost 7 years ago. We're going into 2026. So that was considered a flash knockdown where, like I said, he recovered extremely fast. He got up extremely fast. There was no visible sign of him being hurt after he got up. He even kept fighting and arguably won that round. So won the remainder. Of course, the knockdown does, point-wise, make a huge difference. I just want to rectify what I said. I don't want you guys to think I'm just putting hoopla out there. You did. So Roach has what I consider, and what I believe his past opponents would agree, has respectable power. And this power isn't in just his brick hand. This power is in both hands. You dig? So he has respectable power in both hands, and this will be one factor that he will have to utilize to keep Pitbull honest. And Pitbull, as his nickname is a pit bull. We know how pit bulls are. You're gonna have to kill that pit bull. You're gonna have to debilitate that pit bull for it to stop coming. You dig what I'm saying? Or that pit bull is gonna have to respect you for it to stop coming. So not only does he have power in both hands, he has enough, I believe, to keep Pitbull honest. I do. And not only keep him honest, we already talked about him having almost a 4+ inch reach advantage over Pitbull. If he's able to keep his jab long and strong, you dig what I'm saying, he's going to be able to control distance. And that could be a major factor in the outcome of this fight. Okay? And when I'm saying that, I'm going to get into that more at the end when I make my prediction. But we're going to have to see Lamont the Reaper Roach fight in a manner that he has never fought. And I'll get into that later, but I'll touch on it. He's going to have to fight on that back foot. He's going to have to fight on that back foot. He's going to have to fight on that back foot at moments in this fight. It's not at more than just a little bit. Because even though he may have respectable power, we're dealing with arguably one of the all-time champs at those weight divisions. So let's move on to Pitbull, and I'll tell you why he has one of the all-time champs. Pitbull has never been knocked down. He has never been wobbled. He's never been hurt. Okay, so Pitbull, he's a pressure fighting power puncher. An elite pressure fighter. That's his superpower. He's an elite pressure fighter. That's Pitbull's superpower. And we already touched on what Pitbulls are. They're not going to stop coming unless you debilitate them in some type of way or they respect you. Okay? So that's his only superpower, I believe. Which means he's one-dimensional. And he does some things well, but not well enough for him to be a superpower. So if he's able to break that distance we were just talking about that Roach has to keep to win this fight, he has to keep it for the most part. He can't be that aggressor trying to knock someone out, because I believe Roach does try to knock people out. He has the power to. He does. But knockouts, they have to come. And sometimes they don't come. They don't come. So not only does Pitbull Cruz have to break that distance of Roach, he has to do it often. And he has to rip those overhands, hooks, and uppercuts. He has to rip them nonstop. And when I say he can't respect Roach's power, he can't even come into this fight saying, this guy can punch, which I don't believe he is. So this is why we're going to get, it's going to either be that fight or Stephen Fulton versus Shaqy Foster for that title, for those titles, for that WBC. That might steal the show as well, but I'm definitely tuned into those two for sure. So what I'm saying is, if Pitbull is able to constantly keep the pressure up with those overhands, those hooks, those uppercuts, those ups and overs, if he's able to constantly keep that going the whole fight, he could win this war. He could win this war. And the only deciding factor that could prevent him from doing that, being that he does not have the reach advantage or even close to. That's why I said not only is Roach going to have to fight on his back foot, but that jab is going to have to be long and strong. So Isak Pitbull Cruz, he lacks an educated lead hand, or in other words, a jab. And we all know that's the stick. That's the stick. That's the way you get in. And then it's the fence. It protects you on your way out. So if we know he doesn't even utilize that concept in boxing, that's why I say the superpower. I didn't say anything about him being a great boxer. He has boxing skills. But he's an elite pressure fighter. All right? So moving on. Cruz's only choice to win this fight is to make this fight a war. He can't go in there trying to win a boxing match against Lamont the Reaper Roach. He's going to get massacred. Oh my gosh. He's going to get thrown on a stake and burned like a witch. I don't want to keep. He's going to get brutalized if he does that. It's not going to be pretty. Don't come in there trying to do something or be someone that you aren't. All right. So my final prediction, you guys, if for some reason we see Roach not in shape, which I highly doubt, or off his timing or off his game, they like to say, because when they say I just wasn't on my game, usually they're talking about timing, all right? Which I highly doubt as well, because Cruz doesn't really utilize any deceptive concepts to even have Roach thinking a certain type of way or having a chess match, I believe, or throw off his timing, shall I say. He doesn't utilize feints or pre-slips, you know. He doesn't do anything to offset timing. We will see, we will see. So Roach could lose possibly while fighting a fight in, let's say, survival mode. That's what I mean by if he makes it a war and he wants to get in a firefight for 12 rounds, which I don't believe it'll last 12 rounds. If he does that, he'll possibly be stopped. If he doesn't want to go in there and show everyone how great of a boxer he really is, because he is, Lamont the Reaper Roach really is a great boxer. You guys might not know that, but this is his coming out party, I believe. All right. Well, his second coming out party, because this does speak volumes if he does win this fight against Pitbull Cruz, who had a very close fight with Gervonta. We'll touch on that. So he can't fight this fight in survival mode or he'll possibly lose. He has to control every minute of that fight because he has the skill level to do that. I say possibly because Roach also has a great inside game. I already told you about his ability to fight on the mid-range and close range. He has a great inside game, which gives him a chance even in a firefight against this. Go do your research, you guys. I tell you this all the time. Go do your research. This gives him a chance to beat a fighter like Pitbull Cruz, Isak Pitbull Cruz at his own game, or a fighter that fights in that way at his own game. So I do believe Roach wins. The Reaper wins this fight via split decision, I would say, because I do believe Pitbull will make this. He will try to make this a war at some point in this fight. He has no choice. That's his only dimension. I believe Roach and his team will come up with an excellent game plan to defeat his opponent in Isak Pitbull Cruz. Roach should win by unanimous decision if the best Roach shows up. So I'm looking forward to this fight, and I'm looking forward to the best Roach or version of Roach fighting the best version of Pitbull Cruz. I will say I'm slightly worried about this fight only because I've never seen Roach fight a fighter of this style and at that skill level. We got to admit, let's call an egg an egg. We got to admit Pitbull Cruz has fought some amazing fighters and has been at this level for a while and fought in some big fights. So with that knowledge, we have to have a little worry in this fight for Roach because we've never technically seen him fight, like I said, off the back foot. I told you guys I would touch on that again. So most likely because he's never had to, but he should prepare to. And I believe his team is definitely preparing for him to fight off his back foot at times during this fight. So Roach should use his reach. Like I said, keep that jab long and strong. And try to keep the fight at long range. Keep touching Pitbull. Just keep touching him. And keep turning him as you touch him. Keep turning him, keep touching him. All right? And stay off those ropes and out that corner. because that is what the Pitbull Cruz is looking to assist him in trying to lock you in that square circle so he can do his work. All right, so Tank versus Pitbull, yes, it was a competitive fight. It was a close fight. What I believe is Roach has the ability to win in a better fashion than even Tank, the great Tank. Not only because I don't believe he's just a better fighter. I do believe he beats Tank if they fight again. I do. But because he's busier than Tank. And we've seen that. If Tank comes into that Roach fight, if he fights him, we don't even know if he will, and he's busier than Roach, he beats him. But he's not busier than Roach. And we see that if he can't knock you out and you're busier, then you're going to win in a decision. That's with anyone. So that's my conclusion. Roach wins, split decision. Best Roach comes in, he wins by unanimous decision. So once again, thank you guys for all your support. It's BFA Flex, BFA FL to the E double, coming to you with exclusive boxing content on the Hurt Biz Boxing Podcast. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, share this content, get this podcast in the algorithm and support that way. And don't forget to comment. Let me know what you think. All right. I holla.